Good morning. Can you hear me? Good morning. Okay. All right. Hello. Welcome. It's great to see you in person. This is fun, right? So thanks so much for joining this morning. We've got sort of a jam-packed agenda, so I'm really looking forward to providing some updates and level setting on some things. So we'll just dive right in. This is really a recap of what I shared last month, which, believe it or not, was my first all-staff with you all, which some days feels like 5 hours ago and some days feels like 5 months ago, but it's really been 5 weeks. And I just want to say really quickly, I'm really so impressed with the work that's underway throughout here. So I've learned a lot. I have a lot to learn. And we've got like a lot of new faces and new leaders in this space. So before we do anything else, I just want to really put a plug in for like, say hi, right? Say hi to somebody that you haven't met before or that maybe looks lost, right? Or not sure where to go. Like, I think that's such a key thing. And I need to be better about it. I too frequently have my head down, looking at my phone, running to the next meeting. But I, one, need to pause and not look at my phone so much. And two, make sure that I get to know more of you. So please, if you see me, say hey. Remind me of your name. If I forget, please forgive me for that. But we'll get there, and I can't wait to get to learn more about each and every one of you. Last time, we talked about the big 5 on the top of mind for me. So this is really what Secretary Rosiniak and the FSSA team have outlined for me in coming in as the division director. So stars next to these 3 because that's really where we're going to focus today. We've got some updates. Larisha is going to provide an update from our OMPP DEI work group. We're looking forward to that. Then Holly is going to share some information around our Pathways program activity, which I'm sure you're hearing a lot about these days. She's going to focus on MCE readiness and readiness review. What is it? Where are we in the process? And then I'm going to share a little bit of information that I have. What is this word? Someone shared. It's like steal with, I'm going to forget it. But it's something like steal with purpose and intentionality. I swiped slides from Jay Chaudhry. That's the long short of it there, right? And I'm going to share a little bit about big picture behavioral health initiatives at the FSSA level, specifically CCBHC, which I know some of you are working on really intently and probably are better subject matter experts than I am, but I think it's really important that our whole division gets familiar with our role in sort of the behavioral health space. Lots of exciting stuff going on there. And so we'll go from there. We talked last time, Kathy shared some updates around rate matrix and Nanis around our unwind. But first, I don't have my bios in my hand. Am I still at the point where I can have like a newbie exception and say I'm just the new person? All right, very good. Kyle McKinney. Kyle, are you here? I won't make you stand up. Okay, there's Kyle. Everybody say, hey, Kyle. Kyle is our new embedded contract specialist. He started with us on September 5th. He grew up in the small town of Bloomfield, Indiana. I actually have family in Bloomfield, Kyle. We'll have to catch up on that. After completing high school, he started his own photography business, photographing families, weddings, models, etc. in Bloomington. Kyle's journey working with the state began when he joined the Department of Workforce Development back in 2020. I bet that was a wild time. As a program specialist, later joining FSSA as a contract specialist in 2022. He lives in Franklin with his girlfriend and their 2 pets. Welcome, Kyle. We're so happy to have you on board. So joining us, Billy Martin Johnson. Billy? Hi, Billy. Everybody say, hey, Billy. Hey, Billy. Okay, she is our new program officer on the team. She was born in Indiana, but lives a lot of her life in North Carolina, so she's part Hoosier and part Tar Heel. Her husband refers to her as a Hootar. I practiced that one. Billy is a huge lover of all animals and has only furry children, which totally counts. She loves tennis, though her game definitely needs much more practice. She previously worked as a supervisor at Socoa as a waiver coordinator at Beads. She's very excited to be on the government affairs team. Welcome, Billy. We're so happy you're here. Right. need to hold my clicker here. Okay, great. And also, just for fun, the survivor pool update. Got to keep you updated on where we stand. These 6 individuals are at 2 for 2 in their weekly picks for the NFL survivor pool. It's not too late if you want to join. Shoot me an email. We'll count points, and you just can't pick the same NFL team more than once throughout the season. So, good job. All right, Larisha, we welcome you down and up. Larisha has done a fantastic job of leading this work long before I joined the team. So I was really excited to get to learn from her about the efforts that are ongoing, and she's going to provide an update and some really great information for all of us. So thanks so much, Larisha.
No problem. We have 15 minutes, so we got to make them count. So real quick, I want to take a few of my 15 minutes. We're going to do a little activity. Everybody looks so excited about it, too, from up here. I was going to say stand, but maybe we can just do hands. So if you speak 2 languages, put your hand up. If you have eaten chocolate today, put your hand up. I almost was not going to be able to put my hand up, but then Leslie cornered me and had me eat her cake. So then now I got to put my hand up. It's like a chocolate cake. If you sing in the shower, put your hand up. Oh, concert, I'm telling you. If you can really sing, put your hand up. If you can really sing, like hold a tune and really sound good, put your hand up. Okay, thank you. If you can really sing, it was put your hand up if you could really sing. Okay, we have the hands up. Okay. If you write with your left hand, put your hand up. If you are an only child, put your hand up. If your hair is naturally a different color, put your hand up. If you do not own any pets, put your hand up. If you ever had stitches, put your hand up. If this is your first professional job, put your hand up. If you are a morning person, put your hand up. If you have worked for the state for over 20 years, put your hand up. All right, now let's clap. If you have never been on a cruise, put your hand up. Yeah, a lot of people never been on a cruise. Huh? Okay. Yeah, we're just in here doing, just seeing the differences amongst us all. I've only been on a very few, not many. If you have only lived in Indiana, put your hand up. If you were born in a different state or country, put your hand up. If you have taken part in a talent show at any part of your life, put your hand up. It's all talented and diverse. That was it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that activity. That had a hand down or a hand up at any time, then maybe you can get curious and ask them about that experience. I have only ever lived in Indiana. I have visited all over, but I've only lived here. So I'm up to talk about really briefly the activities that we're doing within the OMPP Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Work Group. Just real briefly, this work group was formed after OHO came back to kind of talk through the results of the listening sessions that happened within OMPP early 2022. Those discussions happened, say, around June-ish, July, not the discussions for the listening sessions, but I think when they came back, it was later in the year, maybe August, September, I don't know. But after OHO came back to talk to us, the DEI work group was formed for OMPP. And so we do have several members on the board, but this picture I put in here just to really kind of guide your thinking as we go through this quick presentation. It's just that everybody matters, every piece is important to the overall puzzle, and we really want to make sure that we are supporting each other and helping make sure everybody's clear that their part, no matter how big or small, is important to the overall mission and goals of OMPP. So the two objectives that we're really working with right now, we're a newly formed group. So we started out just working on identifying the priority themes, the what from the OHO listening sessions that we wanted to address first, and then provide a recommendation like the how, and then bring that to the rest of the group like we're going to do today. And then from that, we want to create an ultimate work plan for OMPP to begin to align the things we want to see improve with the goals of OMPP. We want to empower staff. We want to nurture connections, have a feedback loop where we can get feedback and this is working and that's not working, and support workers to create a positive workplace and experience. So we have, it's not just me, it's a lot of us working on this. And so I'm going to read these names. I'm not going to read it from up there. But if you're in the house tonight or in the building this afternoon, I was going to break off in song. I'm going to ask you to stand up. Rosita, Nairi, Janice, Terry. Keep standing, come on. They got to know who we are. Andrea. Okay. Michelle. And let's give Michelle a round of applause. We know she's going to be leaving us the end of this month, but she's done a lot of work and help. Just keep standing for me so that people know who we are. Megan. Avery. Connor, Evelyn, April, LaDonna, Andrew, Munir, Darius, Danita, Kelly, which is a newly added member. Let's give her a round of applause. Kevin, Jamie, Kathleen, I don't have to say last name because only one of y'all here today. Kathleen Dillinger, me, Larissa Ratliff, and then we do have the pleasure of Dawn Stanford from OHO. She's the barrier reduction director in that area, and she works very closely with us. But if you could, please look around, get familiar with us, because if you're not on the work group, you're still in the in crowd, because you can get with one of us and say, hey, I have an idea, I have a suggestion, I want to provide feedback. We can take that in. You can email me. You can slide a piece of paper under the door, or you can get with anybody you see standing up, and we will take that back and make sure that we do hear that and take that into our mind as we're looking at things. So give a big round of applause for all these people. Thank you, guys. And the other reason why you need a round of applause is because we meet every other Monday from 12 to 1. So people's lunch times are impacted because of this. But it's a great work. I want to go on to the next. So this is a picture that I borrowed. I took a Cora approach. I borrowed this from OHO, and it's a very good picture to kind of show what we want to do. And they looked at it from the farm perspective. So from the executive team point, we want to be more transparent. We want to make sure the communication is clear and that there is support and that you see that we're supportive and understanding. And then when we look at the program areas, we really want the increased collaboration and tasks documented. We don't want to have to do a restart every time a new person starts. We want to make sure there's something there for them to use and utilize, and that we're collaborating within and outside of our program areas. And then we also want to take what we do with training and onboarding and really enhance that. And that's going to be the seeds in the ground, right? When you get seeds in the ground, then you can expect a what? Harvest. When you plant something, you're not just expecting it to stay in the soil. You want to see something sprout up. So from all the training and onboarding and support we do, we want to start to see things sprout up, and we want to see increased tenure, people feeling supported, people feeling like that they are able to, work and be here. And then we want to cut down on the decrease of departure, but not only just in people leaving, but again, with that knowledge and the information that it takes for us to continue to do what we do every day, serve our members and support our providers. We want to make sure we hold on to that. So what we did is we took a look at all the themes that came from the listening sessions, and we focused on 3 of them. And this is just a really high level overview. If you want more information, you can definitely find me and we can talk through it, or any of those people that stood up. One of the themes that we're working on is workplace culture. What we're addressing is just the lack of knowledge about OHO resources. A lot of people didn't know what they offer. They have the employee resource groups. They have other things that they do. They post stuff. And so we really want to spread within OMPP more knowledge about what's available through OHO. Ongoing training and support. Janet does a fabulous job. Is Janet in here? Stand up for us, Janet. Janet does a fabulous job. And she used to be the team of 1, but I think she just got a team of 2, if I read the email right. I could have misread the email. But she does a lot of work with training. We're going to talk about new hire on another slide, but just training, the brown bags and all of that. We just want to enhance that, bring some more to that. So we really want to make a little bit more crisp what happens after you leave her. And so she's been a very integral part in that, just trying to make sure people feel supported again. We want to acknowledge staff successes. So we want to make sure we have a consistent way and opportunity that we can acknowledge what staff are doing and the different successes that are happening within OMPP. So we're working on that. And then just kind of get rid of role confusion, not knowing the SME, being clear about what each section does, what each role does, and everybody just kind of understanding how that whole puzzle piece comes together. And I added the little line at the bottom because we just want to do all of this with clear communication and collaboration. We want to make sure we're talking and sharing things. So the second thing we're looking at is diversity, equity, and inclusion just within OMPP. We want to make sure that we're using the culturally appropriate and correct language. And I just put a example, and I'm bad at this just in general, not with guys, but girl. I call everybody that. And I'm working on it. So just saying the most proper stuff. So not saying you all instead of like you guys, and just having language just more appropriate and more inclusive. I was talking to my brother the other day. I was like, girl, did you know? He was like, Larisha. I was like, oh, my God, sorry. And so it's a habit that I need to break, so I got to be more aware and more cautious about that. And then again, just creating opportunities for engagement and networking. I know that you guys see that we're doing a lot more activities. We're trying to get us together more, just a lot more activities for us to learn about each other. That's important because people that know each other really they have more grace. When things are not, where they need to be, they have more grace. Like Holly, you can hold your hand up. Like Holly and I have worked together for a really long time. So if Holly's on a meeting with me and maybe I'm not the way she normally knows that I am, she may come up later like, are you okay? Because that's not how you normally are. When you know people, you just show that grace. And so the more we interact with each other, the more we'll learn each other and the more we can have grace for each other. We want to bring awareness to unconscious bias, just the tendencies to form opinions, when you don't really have all the information. We could have formed opinions about the people that said they were not morning people to be like, yeah, they like to lay in and be late. We don't know. We don't have all the information. We just like to get up early. That's what we know was on our part. So we got to be mindful of that. And then health equity. We just want to make sure the programs we're building, the connections and collaborations that we do, all support people, no matter what their background is, to have the opportunity to live their full health potential. So that's what we want to do. The third thing we're looking at has to do with the onboarding, I said, hiring, training, and professional development. We want to align a lot with OHO and what they're doing. We want to restructure some of the new hire training, the meet and greet processes, some of those things that kind of wore a lot of us out when we first got here. And then including section presentations, like how we educate you on what is happening around you and how that relates to you. And then also the training, manager training and staff training, and then the brown bags. What's a consistent way, feedback on that, and then professional development, mentorship possibilities, toolkits. What can I do to enhance myself outside of just attending a conference? Next steps is next level trainings. We've done phase 1 and phase 2 of those. It's just really put that into practice, continue to, kind of refresh ourselves on that information. Be aware of your own stuff and things that that you have to be mindful of. We'll continue in the DEI work group. We'll continue to meet and work on the work plan. And then just the OMPP activities and networking. I know next Tuesday we have a networking activity that's going to be speed dating style. If anybody did it last time, I think everybody enjoyed it. We had a really great time. I don't know, Amber, is it 12:30 to 1:30? It's next Tuesday, I believe. Two offerings, so you can come at 12:30 or you can come at 1, or you could do both. And I think last time a lot of people did both. And somebody read this for me. Anybody have one taker? Might get a gift. Come on, Kat, read this. And this is one thing we can all do. It might cost you where you just can't be upset. You're just going to be kind. But this is no matter what we're doing in the DI space, and no matter what we're doing every day, we can just understand that it costs nothing to be kind. Everybody should have received a note from me. I stayed late, not on OMPP's time, when I was leaving on Monday, the 11th, to put a note on everybody's desk just to say, hey, you rock, and you rock. Just hope you took that away from that. Everybody got the same message. Leslie got on me about that. Everybody didn't get a different message. I was consistent. And that is it. If you have any questions or ideas, please let me know.
Thank you so much, Larisha. That was fantastic. Thank you for that team that does this work. Thank you. And what I really took away from that and loved what Larisha said is she was transparent that, like, hey, there are things. Oh, I welcome that. Please answer it and do what you will. She was transparent, right? There are things she has to work on. There are things I have to work on. There are things that every single person in this room have to work on in this space. It's a continuum. It's a constant growing and learning, and we're all doing it together. And if we keep the last slide in mind and as the basis of the way we go about this, I think it's going to look really, really cool. Okay? So thank you. All right. Along those same lines, I just wanted to highlight for a minute, along with what the OMPP DEI work team is doing, our admin professional team has done a fantastic job of really bringing to life a lot of these things, right? So I just wanted to highlight what all we have going in the OMPP space. It's a lot. It's great. But we want to hear from you. We want to hear your ideas. So I see Laura and Leslie and Amber right there, and you're welcome to reach out, as well as to Larisha and the DEI team of like, how can we continue to improve and build upon our culture and our learning and development? I know Jamie and Janet, happy to hear your feedback about how we can improve in any of these spaces. So I love this, and I'm really invested in this. One area that also Larisha highlighted in her presentation is around celebrating successes and recognition. I'm extremely interested in hearing from all of you about how you like to receive that, right? And it's personal and it depends on the individual person, but we would love to have some ideas about the best way to recognize all the great work that's going on within our division, and how we can celebrate it, champion one another, learn from what is going well in other spaces. That's such a great way to say, oh my God, again, back to the swiping, right? I'm going to look that up in a minute and tell you what it actually stands for. But the borrowing is maybe a nicer term. Borrowing other great ideas. There's a lot of times we don't have to reinvent the wheel, and we can build upon the successes of each other and also just encourage each other. These jobs are hard jobs, right? This is hard work that we are doing. And so sometimes it's really hard to dig deep into our personal or professional why and understand that what we are doing really makes a difference to our members, our providers, the state. But if we are building one another up as we're doing it, it's really going to help. On those hard days when you're like, I am just not feeling this, right? We can encourage one another and do a great job. Okay, so with that in mind, reach out to me, reach out to our admin professionals, reach out to Larisha and team, talk to your supervisor about how you like to receive feedback and recognition. It's important. With that, something that we are all learning and trying to build upon successes of, speaking of, Holly is going to share a Pathways update.
Good morning. I know everybody's so excited to hear about Pathways. I know. What's that? Yeah, no. So I don't know how much you guys know about my background, but I was at Anthem for 8 years. And then prior to that, I worked at a human service company that provided services, waiver services, for 24 years. So not only that, I'm a family member of someone who's served on the waiver, the family support waiver. I'm very passionate about what Pathways is going to be doing next year and then for years to come. So you will see me get sometimes a little over animated, and I like to talk with my hands, so you'll be seeing this a lot too. So let's get into like readiness. Readiness for Pathways for us as OMPP and FSSA is kind of our drill, our quiz, our test for the MCEs to show us that they're ready to roll out this program. And because this program is so huge, we have this like year-long readiness schedule. We're now in the midst of the September readiness. As you can tell, we've had to make lots of pivots and move things around because either, we needed to step back to say, wait a minute, we don't maybe have the right direction in place or the right policy in place, or the MCEs have reached out and said, wait a minute, can we do this on a different month because of the flow or whatnot? So this is our readiness schedule. We're in the middle of September. September was our provider materials month, and we are just now going to be sending back the managed care companies our feedback on their provider materials. And then October, we're going to do enhanced benefits and incentive programs. November is going to be really light because we moved our care coordination activities to January. And so my point in kind of telling you this is that when we get to December, January, and because we've had to pivot, December, January, February, March, those become pretty heavy review months. And so everybody's cooperation is appreciated. And I told you I'd talk with my hands. Everybody's cooperation is appreciated, and we are here for you. If it's overwhelming, let us know. We can help take a step back. We're so flexible. It's unbelievable. So what I wanted to kind of share with you so far is that to date, I would say I went through and I looked. We've reviewed over so far, and this is just through into September. We're not even done yet with all of September. We've reviewed over 600 MCE documents through the desk review. September's our first month where we will be doing our on-site demonstration review with the MCEs. So they're going to have to actually show us their provider website. They're going to have to show us how they're going to onboard and credential providers, how they are going to put all of the stuff on the website for providers to know how to join their network. So this will be our first demonstration month. I'm fingers crossed it goes well. And then with those 600 documents, we've approved 59% of them. We've approved with modifications 25% of them. We rejected 14%, and then we have 2% that we have said, we're not sure how to respond back to this document. Give us a little bit so we can figure it out. So that's what. So it's very labor intensive, and our compliance team and all of the subject matter expert teams, are jumping in with both feet. And I appreciate everybody's timeliness, and I appreciate the compliance team's ongoing, efforts to make sure that we get this done and that we keep the MCEs on track. Some of the issues that we run into consistently are the MCEs not following direction. That happens quite a bit. They interpret our direction. They all four interpret our directions differently at times. The MCE is not ensuring compliance with all requirements. So coming from a managed care company, there's a lot of shared services. And so you have shared services submitting documents that aren't really aligning with what the contract states. And so those are what a lot of our rejections are. There's a lot of copy and paste of the SAL language into policies and procedures instead of stating what the policy is and then telling us how they're going to meet through their procedures, how they're going to meet that policy. And then this one's so minor, but we've been having issues with the MCEs naming their files appropriately. Like we actually gave them a naming convention, and we've been having issues with them following that naming convention. And then our last thing is we have a Q&A log that Clarissa gets in and she reviews every week, and Tamara actually pulls questions and sends them out to the subject matter experts for them to respond. But we have the whole point of the question log was so that the MCEs could go out and they search the log if they have a question to see if it's ever been asked. And if it has been asked, then there should be an answer there. But we have a lot of MCEs not doing that, and we've got lots of duplicate questions. So we're actually in the process now of kind of cleaning up our question and answer log and categorizing those questions. I see Stephanie here nodding her head. Poor Clinical has had lots and lots of duplicate questions. And thanks for bringing that to our attention so that we can address that. But there is a lot of information on the question and answer log. So if you guys are interested in seeing the question, there's something like 600 questions now on it. Hopefully when we clean it up, it will be grouped differently and it won't be so large. Let's see, what else do I have for you guys? Oh yeah. The other thing that we're doing to help the MCEs with the readiness and being prepared for readiness is we started doing MCE office hours. So we've done the office hours that you see up there. We've done these topics so far with the MCEs. We've done pharmacy and provider. We've done after-call surveys because in the Pathways contract, it's a requirement that customer service do a after-call survey. That is standardized by the state. So we've had that. We've done some HCBS services, office hours around pest control, nutritional supplements, environmental modifications. We've also done some we did a reimbursement office hours, and we've done 2 DSW office hours. And so basically, this is really, we're going through the question and answer log. We're seeing what the MCEs are asking us. We are asking them to send us questions. But basically, the purpose of our office hours is to collaborate with the MCEs to develop a program that we think will help, meet the needs of our Hoosiers that are going to be served by Pathways. We want these office hours to be a partnership with our MCE, and some of that is because we want the MCEs to have buy-in, that they helped put this program together. And the other thing is we don't know it all. And these managed care companies, they're in many other states doing LTSS. So we're actually trying to lean on them a little bit to tell us what are best practices in other states that we may not know about here in Indiana. How have you rolled these things out? What were your lessons learned so that we don't make the same mistakes? So that's the purpose of really why we started these office hours. We wanted to make sure that the MCEs were prepared for readiness and to go live, but we also want to learn. We wanted to learn from that. We want to learn from them. And then we have some upcoming topics. So my point in telling you this is that if you feel there's like a subject matter area that we really want to review with the MCEs, we can put you on the office hour schedule. You just need to reach out to myself. You could reach out to Clarissa or Nicole McMahon. But we will get you on the office hour schedule if you feel like you have a topic that you want to make sure the MCEs are aware of, and will be able to pass readiness. I think that's the big thing, like making sure that we're giving the MCEs the tools so that they can roll out a program that will improve the lives of the Hoosiers that will be served by it. And ta-da, I'm done.
Any questions for Holly or reaction on the Pathways information shared?
Yeah, we do have a timeline. Let me get with Nicole. I'll have her send it to you, okay?
There's a few different iterations of that. So that's a great question around, and in fact, next week the Medicaid Oversight Committee will meet, and I will be, I'm a member of the committee. It's a legislative committee with a couple executive branch appointees. I will be on the committee, but also presenting, and that deck will also include a Pathways update at a high level. There might be some slides in there that if you are asked to share with outside groups or the like, that might be a good avenue to go, since those are already also public. Another thing that Holly and I were discussing yesterday that I just want to share with this group is around if you are asked to present on Pathways, would you please be sure to give Holly an update to external groups, right? If it's an internal FSSA meeting, that's not applicable here, but we're getting a lot of different requests in different areas to present at, and share information about Pathways, which is great, and we want to get the word out. But we want to make sure that as all of us are going out and doing that, we're using consistent material, the most up-to-date material. So Darcy, Holly, myself, Lindsay, these are all people that you can come and talk with if you're asked to present. And Holly is going to be working, Holly and Clarissa are going to be working to sort of put in place a temporary process. There's going to be some FSSA-wide processes around when you're asked to go out and present on different topics. But for Pathways specifically, I think we're going to do a little stopgap so that we make sure we've really got some strong control around that messaging. Okay, so if you have questions about that, feel free to come and see me afterwards, all right? Very good. Behavioral health and CCBHC, and we are perfectly on time. I'm just very efficient group here. We're all doing great here. I'm really excited to talk about this because in my former role, this is something I got to work on quite a bit with Jay. And so, steal with integrity and pride everywhere. I looked it up. All right, so you're probably, I shouldn't make assumptions. How many of you are familiar with the 3-pillar crisis system that FSSA has deployed? Okay, good. Someone to contact, someone to respond, somewhere to go, right? Used to be called, I think now the terminology might even be updated to a safe place for help, right? So the whole purpose here, the thought in behind this is when someone is in crisis, we have to have quick response that hopefully is going to help them receive care in the right location. Too frequently, individuals who are experiencing a mental health crisis or an episode related to substance use disorder find themselves in the hospital emergency departments, which at times that might be the appropriate level of care that they need, or jail with law enforcement intervention. And again, sometimes situations escalate to the point that that is the only option, but when it's not, we want to build a system in Indiana that helps people get the help and the care that they need rather than addressing a situation that might just repeat itself later on, right? So 988, hopefully you're familiar with 988. The DMHA team has just done such a fantastic job in launching the 988 program. It just celebrated in July its 1-year anniversary of being an Indiana-run program. It's nationwide, but each state had to sort of take on responsibility for that. The DMHA team, the 988 team, has maintained over 90% answer volume in state, which is phenomenal. The average nationwide is lower than that, more in the 70% range. That's critical because it means that when someone is calling 988 in our state, someone in Indiana is answering that call and can refer them to local resources. If that call is not answered in state, which at times the call volume is too high, it does roll to a national backup. So it's not that those individuals are not receiving assistance or being able to talk to someone in real time, but they don't have the same opportunity for local referral network. So this pillar is pretty well on its way, right? We're now in sort of sustain, maintain mode, right? The big focus and what we're going to speak a little bit more on are on the second two pillars. The mobile crisis teams. Indiana has DMHA through some federal funds matched with state funding that we're going to talk about in a little bit has really started to focus on our mobile crisis team responses. So that's, again, a unique set of individuals with skills who may have mental health professional training, as well as physical, clinical experience who can respond to a crisis and hopefully de-escalate a situation, help that individual determine, do they need to go somewhere safe? Can we address their needs on site and refer them to care the next day or in the coming week? What is the real crisis here? At times, and this is the beauty of 988 and the future of the integration with other systems like 211, is that sometimes there is a social determinant of health need that is driving that crisis, right? A pending eviction, for example. And so how can we connect them to social service resources that can address the underlying crisis, help that person feel more comfortable so that they can get some long-term behavioral health needs met. Sometimes, though, the situation is such that they really do need a safe place for help. The Crisis Receiving and Stabilization Services work stream is really meant to address that, and that's where our Certified Community Behavioral Health Clinic work, or CCBHC, is really coming into play. In the last legislative session, HEA 1001, which was the state budget, made a $100 million investment in mental health, which really helped create some level of sustainability and growth. There was plenty of pandemic-related relief dollars that were flowing into the system, but this investment of state dollars is really propelling the DMHA team to be able to invest in those, particularly the mobile crisis team piece of it. So the DMHA team has set their goal for, by the end of, I want to say 2025, they will have 50% of the state population will be within access of a mobile crisis team. There will be a mobile crisis team covering at least 50% of the geographic state. That will give us time to pilot some of these, work with existing providers, bring on new providers to help with the mobile crisis team. Of course, some of you in this room may have been very closely involved with submitting our state plan amendment to make mobile crisis services a Medicaid reimbursable service. And so that is another key component of that. The DMHA team will continue to work with commercial and third-party private coverage to make sure that that service is accessible to everyone in the state. Okay, let's see if this works.
GoDaddy is a partner that always puts you first. Start today at GoDaddy.com.
For too long, our nation's behavioral health system has been underfunded, leaving far too many without the care they need. The Certified Community Behavioral Health Clinic, or CCBHC model, is now transforming that. The CCBHC model gives states and clinics the resources and flexibility to address our nation's crisis and access to care. Participating clinics meet uniform standards that ensure everyone can receive the same high-quality, comprehensive care, regardless of their financial situation or where they live, and they receive sufficient funding to achieve this. As a result, CCBHCs are closing the gap in unmet need for care. They're making same-day access the norm, so no one waits for the care they need. They're ensuring expanded access to medication-assisted treatment, critical in treating opioid use disorder. CCBHCs deliver 24/7, 365 crisis support and care coordination with law enforcement to get people into treatment, not jail. Through crisis response, integration with physical health care, and care coordination with hospitals, CCBHCs are helping people stay healthier, preventing costly emergency medical visits and saving taxpayers millions of dollars. The National Council for Mental Well-Being is committed to making CCBHC status available to every clinic and bringing CCBHCs to every community by 2025. That means millions more people gain access to high-quality mental health and substance use treatment, where and when they need it. Become part of this great work by visiting our CCBHC Success Center at thenationalcouncil.org/CCBHC to learn more.
Okay, great. So that's, again, from the National Council for Mental Wellbeing. I think it's just a really nice, quick clip. If you're with external stakeholders or others or family, friends who are asking, what is this CCBHC concept, that's kind of a great resource to refer them to. Let's see, did I skip ahead on accident? No. Okay, very good. So, again, the CCBHC video, hopefully you took away from that it's really well integrated along the mobile crisis lines, right? So our CCBHCs will be a huge provider of the mobile crisis services. You can imagine a situation where a CCBHC mobile crisis team goes out, responds, tries to de-escalate, but if that's not possible, is able to bring the individual to the Certified Community Behavioral Health Clinic. The most interesting piece to me about the CCBHC work that DMHA is going to undertake in collaboration with us and other divisions, I think, will be to see what types of providers move forward with CCBHC status. Because right now, as you're probably aware, the primary delivery mechanism of these services is through our community mental health centers, or CMHCs. They will be able to become CCBHCs in this new transition, but other provider types will as well, including hospitals and other mental health providers. So CCBHC readiness, how many of you are involved in the CCBHC project? Handful, good number there. So you can see that the coverage map looks a little bit different on the Safe Place for Help. It's a longer term project, right? Because you can imagine that the sort of infrastructure needed for the mobile crisis teams looks very different than when we actually have a facility or location that we're bringing someone to. In the future, in a fully integrated crisis response center, crisis response system, the 988 call will be integrated, and the case management notes that the individual answering that call enters will be able to be seen by the CCBHCs. That's a longer term project, but as far as from a technology solution, when we think about care coordination, being able to track referrals, see if individuals are following up with treatment recommendations, the information sharing and interoperability there will be incredibly important. So again, in addition to HEA 1001, the budget, SEA 1, which was a Senate priority bill that Jay and team worked very closely with the legislature on, FSSA was directed to proceed with applying for a CCBHC demonstration grant. So currently DMHA is kind of having to operate under two tracks. They will apply to see if they are selected by the federal government to be one of the demonstration states. That will be one timeline. If, however, they are not selected in that demonstration grant, the timeline sort of shifts, which will be important to us as we do our work in this space with them from a reimbursement standpoint, clinical operations integration standpoint, to ensure that our Medicaid members have the most opportunity to exercise these new opportunities. The big change, the big difference when you think of it from a financial standpoint on the provider side is around the PPS rate methodology for CCBHCs. So CCBHCs receive a prospective payment system per diem based rate, which is of course different than a fee-for-service model that other mental health providers may experience now. In exchange for that higher rate amount that is set sort of more on a cost reporting basis, there's really strict criteria that CCBHCs must comply with. So the intent there is to improve quality. And another piece that ties in nicely with the mobile crisis piece is that they have very specific 24/7 access requirements that CCBHCs must comply with also, which, as you can imagine, when we hear about the challenges of receiving behavioral health treatments, we know that crises don't just happen from 9 to 5, right? Or when you can call and make an appointment for your crisis to happen. So it's really critical, and there's so much value that I think the CCBHC model can bring. This shows the 9 core services that CCBHCs are required to provide. These are federal requirements that are established. And you can see that case management and really looking at the whole person care is a critical piece of this, which will really, again, drive improved quality for individuals who are accessing these services. There's requirements around family-centered, so making sure that that person has appropriate supports in place for them, as well as a lot of focus sort of on substance use disorder, specific treatments and responses. This is a nice slide that kind of depicts our current behavioral health system and what it will look like going forward. So the fee-for-service quantity and prospective payments we've talked about, staff turnover being very high in many of our behavioral health provider settings. With the increased rates, that should drive increased salaries and wages for those providers. And then, of course, sort of the siloed nature in which behavioral health services are delivered, not just in Indiana, but in the United States. The CCBHC model is intended to sort of break those down and really move to an integrated model. Oh, this is a little bit about what FSSA is doing, right? And you can see some pieces that hopefully catch your eye, maybe the state plan amendment piece, as well as some of these other stakeholder input components. So a lot of work to be done. Larisha is sort of our cat herder, if you are in Six Sigma speak, in terms of making sure that we have the right folks at the table. If you want to learn more about our specific work, I would encourage you to talk to Larisha or myself. We also have a lot of support from our strategic partner, ICASO, on this, and so they also are another great resource. We're happy to put you in touch. A lot of documentation has been developed already around our strategy and as we move towards applying for the demonstration. So happy to share that with anyone who is interested. Another great piece of this is if you're familiar with the hospital world or other types of certain nonprofit providers, some of them have a requirement to conduct community needs assessments. That also is a piece of the CCBHC model. So it really is meant to design a system, a program, a provider type that responds to the specific needs of the community. That CNA also should be closely tied to sort of the cost reporting and the driving of the established rate in the PPS system. So sustainability, of course, is an issue, as is pretty much every project initiative that the state has undertaken related to an investment that started with federal pandemic funding. So we made good progress with SEA 1 next year, but The problem with building a new system is it's really hard to know how much it's going to cost because you've never done it before. So that's a challenge for FSSA and the state as a whole to really look at what is it going to cost as we see different forms of uptake, and we ask our provider colleagues to engage in sort of cost reporting, and even before then, even before they're providing services, what are those upfront infrastructure costs as they hire staff, as they build out their services, as they complete training and learn what CCBHC is. This is interesting too, and those of you who worked on the mobile crisis spa may know this even better than me, but obviously a mobile crisis team has to sit on call, right? You have to be ready to go to respond in the crisis. So this idea of firehouse time, most payer types do not pay for on-duty time. So structuring a program that will ensure that we have people on the ready, which is, again, where there's a really nice alignment opportunity between the CCBHC model and the mobile crisis teams, because instead of just having a provider that is solely a mobile crisis team and is just sitting there waiting for the next call, in a CCBHC, you can deploy those resources to be providing services to other patients or clients at the same time, and then be able to really get creative with your staffing model so that you do have the resources that are ready to respond out into the community as needed. So again, some thoughts going forward. How much will Medicaid cover? How much will any third-party payer cover? How much will state appropriations cover? I think all of those are financial considerations that we as OMPP will be asked to work very closely with DMHA and others to help flush those things out. I think Jay's point here is a good one. All or nothing. A partial crisis continuum doesn't work, right? This has to be integrated, or else we really haven't broken down the silos that exist today, where we're not delivering care in a way that helps individuals. Because the worst thing that we can do for someone in crisis is create complication, make it more challenging, make them feel alone, and really exacerbate maybe an already really challenging situation. And then, of course, quality and outcomes. How are we going to measure this? There's really specific criteria for CCBHCs around what they must do as far as quality measures and the like. And so how we then trickle that down into the state level, I think, will be another good exercise and interesting experiment as we go forward. This is my last slide, just wanted to show who some of our key leads on the CCBHC project are. So if you want to learn more, these folks, I think, can help you, at least as a starting point. If you see your name up there and you're like, hey, I'm not doing that, also come talk to Larisha and me so that we can get down to the bottom of that. And then, as you can see, it's a pretty broad swath of OMPP departments or sections that are involved in this. So much like Pathways, much like the Unwind, much like the rate matrix work, pretty much everything we do, there is a huge need for collaboration and communication to ensure that everybody is sort of rowing in the same direction. So in these sorts of things, if I can ever be of assistance, Lindsay, others, your manager, your strategy team leader, please don't be hesitant to say, hey, I think I need to be plugged into this, or hey, how is this going? Like we want to make sure that we're not missing missing things or creating silos that shouldn't be there. Okay. Any questions on CCBHC or our behavioral health work, which I can't promise to have the answer, but I can promise to find it. Yeah, that's a fantastic question. Thank you for that. And yes, absolutely, they have provided a lot of, not only just reaching out to them, they provided a lot of funding in that regard. So there were some specific grants that, I'm going to blank on the name, but essentially it was like starter grants or ignition grants that helped those very, I'll call them fledgling provider types or associations really formalize their processes, get off the ground, and get connected into our larger system work. And certainly that's continuing. I think the big challenge there, of course, is you don't know what you don't know, or you don't know who you don't know. And so I'm sure that they would welcome if you have a specific community resource. Jay does a fantastic job on that. Jay's team does a fantastic job on that. But certainly it's a challenge, right? Because we have really strong and trusted community groups that are local, maybe smaller, maybe slightly less sophisticated, that we need to bring along with us, because that's who our Medicaid members, or really anyone in the community, knows and goes to and is going to look to them as sort of their trusted resource. And then we've got the whole scale all the way up to, you may have seen in the news, the city of Indianapolis has a very large mobile crisis project underway. And so everyone from like a very well-funded or developed program like the Indianapolis Mobile Crisis Team, all the way to sort of one or two individual people. The other group that has done a really nice job with this, Doug Hunsinger, who works out of the governor's office on substance use disorder work. Doug and the recovery cafes, the work there, oh my goodness, we could keep that for a separate presentation about these local groups that have done so much on the grassroots level, to your point in question, to really like move us along in our approach to substance use disorder. Good question. Any other? We're a minute or two over. Any other questions? Okay, well, I could talk about this for a long time, so please don't hesitate to reach out. It's great to be here in person with you. It's great to see all of you. I'll stick around if you have questions or feedback or just want to say hi for a little bit. Laura is in the back, and so if we could exit in an orderly fashion, she will hand you sort of like a postcard picture that is our all-staff picture that we took near Allison's last day. So we have those printed out and would love to leave you with a little parting gift. So that's all I've got. Thanks so much for joining us today. Tough.